Video is to demonstrate how Plantform works. This is a demonstration video for Plantform software. It is a web application, and to access it you go to www.plantformsoftware.com, and this is the home page for Plantform. You see at the top there is a Plantform link. This will always take you home. There is the Add Listing link and the Sign In link. There is a Garden View button and a Garden Market button. You can click the Garden Market button and that will show you what is currently listed in Plantform. If you go back home, you can click the Plantform button and then go to Garden View. And the first thing you need to do is create an account and log in. So I will sign up. I'll just use one of my email addresses and sign up. Tell it to save my address, and I need to give the garden an address. When it asks for the number of beds, each bed is approximately 1 meter wide. And inches, the bed itself is considered a standard 30-inch bed for high density, high intensity farming. If you're not farming per se, but growing in pots or planters, then what you're doing with these two fields, the number of beds and the number of prisms, which is 1 meter each, is you're figuring out how many square meters it's going to take to track everything that you're growing in Plantform. I'm going to put in the dimensions for my garden. It has 2 beds, and each bed is 4 meters long. I'll find a picture for my garden, which can be changed throughout the growing season, and then I will click create for my new garden. This is the prism view. You can see that prism view is blacked out. There's no link there because you're already there. Here's the picture that I just placed for my garden, and here's where you can change that picture throughout the season. I started late this year, so I don't actually have anything growing. I just planted a cover crop, so there will be a cover crop there at some point. There are 3 ways to plant this garden. There is the plant bed method, where I can plant all of the prisms in this bed and all of the prisms in this bed, and if you look next to it you can see what the prism name is. This is bed 1, prism 1. This is bed 1, prism 2, and 3 and 4. This becomes important because the maximum number of prisms is 30. So you can have a 30 meter long or close to 100 foot long bed here. And if you have 7 of these wide, you can get out in the middle of the field here and not be able to tell exactly where you are, but these labels will always tell you where you are. If you click the Plant Bed button, you get a form and some instructions that you can read that'll basically tell you exactly what I just explained in the prism section. This is important in red. Only use this on a clear bed or to clear a bed. So the crop name that I'll put in right now is my mixed cover crop. And the number of cubes in each prism, since there are 4 of them available for each prism, I'm planting into all 4 of the prisms. You can leave that blank if you want to put in all 4, or you can put in a lower number. Some plants you can only plant 1 in a square meter, so in that case you'll only plant into 1 of the prisms, or 1 of the cubes of the prism. The number that I plant, I probably have 10 seeds in each square meter, so I'll go ahead and plant that. And as you can see, I now have mixed cover crop showing in all of those prisms. And I'll do the same thing in bed 2. Well, wait a second. Instead of doing that, I'll show you. If I click on Plant Prism here, I can plant the single prism with mixed cover crop. and then I can put in the 4 cubes of the prism that I'm planting in, and I probably put 10 seeds in each one. So I'll go ahead and plant that, and now you can see only that prism has the plants in it. The farthest down you can go, and sometimes you will have to do this if you're going to do something such as planting one plant in one cube of a prism, you'll have to plant into individual prisms or individual cubes. So I'll click on this and I'll say mixed cover crop, and then I'll say that there are 10 in there, and now I have a single cube of this prism planted. And before I go and fill in all the rest of this, I'd like to go to the garden view. The garden view has information about what's currently there. It has the name, it has the garden address, it tells you the size of your garden, and it tells you exactly what and how much is currently planted in that garden. It also gives you the plant hardiness zone. The plant hardiness zone for the location here is 9B. Its minimum average temperature is 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, pretty much in the dead of winter, that is the minimum average temperature. You'll want to figure out that 9B anytime that you, this is automatically given to you, but anytime you're looking for seeds or something to plant, they will often give you the plant hardiness zone that it is suited for. Make sure that your plant hardiness zone matches the plant hardiness zone of any plant you intend to grow. I want to take a few minutes now to talk about the soil information table. When you first create a garden in Plantform, there is no soil information there because the garden does not yet know exactly what the soil type is for your garden. You will have to enter that information into Plantform to get that fed back to you. The soil information button is available. When you click on the soil information button, you get a pop-up that gives you some instruction on how to obtain your map unit symbol. The map unit symbol is connected to the soil database table that will give you the table of information. There are 7 steps present here that if you follow these 7 steps, you will be able to get your map unit symbol. I happen to know what the map unit symbol is for my garden. This garden location is not exactly my garden, but I will use one that I know off the top of my head. It is capital E, lowercase c, capital A. When you follow these 7 steps, you will be able to get this symbol. There are 3 or 4 letter and occasionally number group symbols that are used here. You'll look it up and type it in here. When you click save in this form, you then get a table that gives you your soil information. I have recently found that there are certain locations in the United States where the soil information for the symbol produces multiple tables. That means that that symbol is connected to more than one spot on the earth, always in the same general relative location. But if this happens to you where you get to a spot and you have you get a symbol that has multiples, it's going to be your you'll be able to go ahead and look up your address back in the web soil survey and figure out exactly which one is yours, and then just ignore the rest of them. At the bottom of this page, you see there is a destroy button. The garden information page, the garden info page, is the only place with the destroy button. But if you destroy here, your prism view will disappear and your garden info will disappear, and you can start over again. The grow info button tells you about each of the beds in the garden, what crop is planted there, how many of them is planted there. Currently it has irrigation, but this is more for grow management, and I am still working on that at this time. This is what is currently planted in the garden for every one of the cubes. So in bed 1, prism 1, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes. Each one of them has the mixed cover crop, the date that I sowed them, and the number planted. There are certain plants which you plant, and then I have more information available for those plants. So for instance, let's take, well, I know alfalfa is in there right now. And we'll plant into this cube probably, I guess, around 6 or 8. We'll plant 8 there, and now we can see there's alfalfa planted in that prism. And when we go back to grow info, when we find that prism, we can see now that the spacing in inches should be 18 inches. It needs full sun, and its sow depth is cover. So that means you just drop the seeds onto the soil. And over time, I'm going to increase the amount of information that's available in this table. At this time, that information is not available. When you have a plant that is in your garden, you can click the Sale to Market button, and that'll take you to a new listing. Let's not go there yet. Let's go back to Plantform, the main page, and the garden market is where the new listing actually takes you to. You can also use the Add Listing. You use the Add Listing button here, which is the same exact thing as clicking Sell to Market. Add Listing and Sell to Market are the exact same page, the exact same form. But back in the Plantform page, if we go to Garden Market, it shows you what is currently listed in the market. You can sort this by type of plant, whether it's a vegetable or a fruit, an herb, a flower, indoor plant, outdoor plant, or tree, and you can do a city search. So if I'm in the vegetables page, for instance, I can do a city search for the location, and city search will show me that one because this is where it is sold. So anywhere that you are, if you're looking for something, a specific vegetables, and you want to find where they're sold in your location, you type in your city and you will only get the vegetables that are sold in your city. The same is true of every one of the rest of these. If you go to flowers, if there were flowers listed and you typed flowers and you typed your city, you would only see the flowers that are being sold in your city. If I add a listing now, I can add a listing, let's say of broccoli, and then say it's fresh and organic. And then it's going to be vegetables, but here is where you have your choice of what type of product you can plant, you can put on the listing. And let's say that I have 2 pounds, and then the date of sale. This is important because this is the date when you're going to meet with the person and either buy and you're planning to go to sell. Let's say that it's going to be next year at this date, and let's say it's going to be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and say I want to sell those 2 pounds for $1. It tells you right here that there's going to be 6.9% added with 30 cents included. This is only if somebody decides that they want to priority purchase this broccoli. It is possible to make an order without purchasing, and that's something I'll get to in just a couple of minutes. The total number of orders that are available means how many of these 2 pound bags are you going to make available for sale on this date at this time. And let's say you have 20 of these. And now where is the sale going to happen? Let's say that this is a downtown farmers market in my hometown. We'll say it's 10 Main Street in Salinas, California, with the zip code, and then you can put in your email address or your phone number, and then you choose a file. This is a picture that you're going to use to represent that item. I recommend that you you choose a picture that is that item growing in the garden. Here I have a picture of a broccoli plant growing. You can do your whole garden if it's, or you can do a whole bed if you want to demonstrate all of these 20 that you're going to be putting on the market here. So when I submit this, I will then produce the listing page for this specific listing. Gives you the name and what type it is, when it's for sale, who's selling it, and where it's located, and it gives you the price. If you go now to market listings, you will now see that broccoli is listed in the all. It's also listed in the vegetables because I selected vegetable as the type. If I was not the lister and I was the a buyer or someone who wanted to order this to pick up on this date, I can click the show, and it's, as you see, the same page shows you exactly where that sale is going to happen, and I can click order. And that gives me the page. It shows me the information again. I will click order here, and now I get my current order. This now is communicated to the person who has listed this item. You don't have to pay here. If you pay here, then that means that the person who listed this item needs to have that available for you when you arrive at the sales location. Whether that's a farmer's market, a community-funded agriculture drop-off spot, wherever that happens to be. By pay here, what that means is that the person who takes that step to pay the extra 37 cents for this item can be guaranteed that the item will be present. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and pay here. And this is the pay page. It's currently in test mode. And when you click pay, it will take you back to your purchase history. And now this looks like kind of like the same page, but it has a different indicator here. Now it shows your order verified is unverified. So if you are the buyer of these items, you can see where the pickup location is, how much you paid for it, and the contact number for it. And so you can contact the seller. So if you have an unverified here, and it's been like that for a few days, you can contact the person selling the product and ask them to please verify that they're going to be there at that time, especially if you've paid for it. And this is the pickup date and the pickup time, and this is the date that I purchased. So August 27th, today's date, is the day that I made the order. When I go to, now that's it really for the buy side or the order side of Plantform. If you do not want to be a producer and you just want to consume these products, then that is all you have to do. If you want to be a producer of these, so you have your garden and you're in the garden and you go to your grow info page and you click sell to market, then you create your listings. Well, that's where your manage listings comes in. Now, just a little while ago I created this listing, so here's the listing. I can view it, I can edit it. So let's say that I have sold all of the units that I had, but I actually have more. I can actually change this now and add another one to it. For instance, say I change that to 20. Be careful, because this gives you the amount that is on top of the amount that was there before. So you have to set this back to the original sell price, and then it already has the date that it's going to be sold at, and it already has all the other information placed in it. So I can submit that. It takes me back. It's still at the $1.37. So at this point, I can see once again my managed listings. I didn't add it to, I didn't go ahead and add another listing. I just edited this listing. So now my number remaining is back to 20. And I can destroy this listing. destroying the listing does not destroy the purchases. So I recommend that if you have any in your sell history, if there are any in your sell history for that listing, do not destroy the listing. It won't change the sales history, and that person is still going to be there, especially if they've paid for it at that location at that time. So their purchase history is going to continue to show that item for sale at that place at that time. So destroying your item should only be done if you've decided not to show up at that place and you have no sales. If you have sales, you need to contact everybody who has made the purchase. So the sell history has an email address from the buyer, or a phone number, it has an email address from the buyer. Make sure to contact the buyer before you destroy and stop the listing. You may have to refund them or contact me, and depending on how we set up our relationship, you could either have your access to the sales portal called stripe.com, or I can do that for you. So your sale history now has, in the verify, it has check to verify. So once you have received the email that the item has been paid for, or this person who bought it or ordered it has contacted you, you can click the check mark here to update the order, and that order now becomes verified. Now I'm using the same account to sell and buy, so I don't have to log out and log back in for this. It might be a little confusing because of it, but it'd be more time consuming and perhaps more confusing to do it the other way. Now when I go to the purchase history for that item, you can now see that the seller has verified the order. Now at this point, you only have one chance to purchase the item. That happens in the market listing page when you go into show an item and you order the item. And ordering the item, this is the only place you can your current order screen is the only place where you can pay for the item. After you have left this page, let's say I go to my purchase history page now, I have ordered the item, but I no longer have the chance to pay for it here. So let me look at the garden market listings now. So this one's not for sale. Oh, yes, I need to edit this listing so that nobody thinks this is actually for sale. So I will go back and change this to test, or not for sale. Now you can do this too. If you are a food bank or some other organization, you can actually put listings here not for sale, and you might even put free right here for these items at this time at this location. But this is a test item, so I'll put it like that, and then I will again remember to go and change my value back to 1, and then when I submit here, I can go back to market listings, and I can now see that both of these are test and testing. That is all there is. I can edit my account by changing my, I can change my password. That's what edit account means. I've shown purchase history, sales history. I've shown how to add the listing. I've shown the manage listings. I've shown what market listings looks like. And I've shown what garden looks like. That is all there is to Plantform at this time. This is the whole foundation and base for Plantform. The future plan will be to change my garden info, or to increase or improve the garden info just a little bit more, But most importantly, to change my grow information page so that you will be given guidance and schedule for how to put on foliar sprays for insect resistant, for drought resistance, how to mend your soil, when to irrigate your soil, how much to irrigate it, and so forth. I also will have all of the plant information plus some. I intend to increase the amount of plant information for each cube planted. I should mention now that only one plant is possible to be planted in a cube. So you can have 4 types of plants that are planted in any given prism. So going back to prism view, you can see you can have 4 types of plants that are planted inside of this prism. And you can have any number of those 4 plants depending on how many are needed. If you're planting something very large, let's say trees for instance, you might need 3 meters to plant one tree. So I might here plant a cherry tree, for instance, and then the number planted in that cube will be 1. I will plant that, and then now I have a cherry tree planted in there. Which another thing you can do is if you click here and then click plant, that clears the prism. If I click up here for bed as it says, or clear a bed, if I leave this blank and click plant, everything in that bed is now planted blank. It's basically a harvest. This is how you harvest. I can click here, I can leave it blank, plant. I've now cleared that prism. I've now harvested that prism. So now I can go back into this prism, put in my cherry, and that I'm going to plant in 1 in this cube. I can plant it, and now we can imagine that this cherry tree is going to take up this entire area of the garden. And then plus probably you're going to have another bed here to represent 3 meters of garden space. So again, your garden beds are about 75 centimeters. This next to it is about 25 centimeters on each side. So you end up with about a 50 centimeter separation in between. From the middle of this bed to the middle, or from the middle of this row to the middle of this row is 1 meter. The height of this is 1 meter. I see that it's a rectangle. The reason that that's a rectangle is if you plant 4 plants in here that all take 2 lines, I think I've given space for 3 lines of text, it'll fit enough text for even the longest named plants. That's why these are rectangles. But mathematically, these are square meters. And that is all I have to say for Plantform at this time. If you have any questions, you can click down at the bottom in the contact, and that gives you my phone number and my email address. You may contact me at any time. Thank you.